So, Tavivat asked me to share my experience now. And I've had a very kind of unconventional path. And so I've been usually reluctant to talk about it because I don't know that it would be helpful. I worry that it might not help you on your path. Right? And but I'm going to sort of give it a try. And I haven't told anybody the full story except maybe 3 people. Achan, Niphen, and a Zen teacher a long time ago. But when I was 17, just a few months shy of my 18th birthday, I was a typical teenage asshole, troublemaker, wise guy. Didn't believe in anything. I was raised Catholic and thought religion was a bunch of hogwash. What you see is what you get. One day, I had this spontaneous awakening experience where I saw everything. I saw that I didn't exist. Michael didn't exist anyway. Everybody I loved was just a fabrication. I saw that time was an illusion. I saw heaven and hell. I remember I was shaking because it was such a shock to see this. It was like seeing yourself murdered, yourself and your family murdered. And again, I saw heaven and hell. Hell is, the truth is that things, on one hand, things are, in terms of our normal consciousness, everything is impermanent. Everything is rising and passing away. But in another sense, nothing ever really passes away. And so I saw that the evil actions that are committed out of ignorance don't pass away. They're always there forever. And so, and that's hell. The evil action is itself hell. So, and I saw, it's impossible to describe it. And I saw actually some things that were going to happen in the future, then they got erased from my mind as I was looking at it. And, my mind went back to normal eventually. But that was a defining moment in my life because it couldn't be denied at all. It created this intense pressure to find a way out of this mess, this delusion. And I had no way to digest it. I had no way to understand it because I wasn't a Buddhist. I wasn't anything. So this just happened out of the blue. In hindsight, it kind of makes me believe in reincarnation. I can't remember any past lives, but I didn't do anything to merit that, awakening. And it certainly didn't do anything to decrease my suffering. I was still an asshole. I still had lots of anger and greed. And if anything, it was more suffering because in addition to that, I had this awareness that I have to find a way out. I don't want to be in hell. And, it's like they say that in Zen, they often refer to the saying that you should practice as if your head's on fire. Mm-hmm. So I knew my head was on fire without any doubt, but I had no idea how to put the fire out. So there was this intense pressure. And that became like this kind of pivotal moment in my life. But, I had no idea what to do with it, so I just went about growing up, and going to college. And I read, the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and all, typical, Eastern stuff. I read the Bible. I understood, the Christianity in a very different way. I was raised Catholic. I understood that the teachings of Jesus were enlightened, but the way they were practiced was not helpful, and was actually not in accordance with this teaching, at least in my view. So the first, for 10 years after that, or 8 or 9 years after that, I kept looking for how do I put the fire out? And so finally, I started practicing. I was trying to meditate on my own. I didn't really do much. And I started practicing with a Zen group in Westchester County, and went on a retreat where they had brought in a master who had, I think had studied with Yamada, but I'm not sure. So during the interview, I told him my experience, and he tested me with some questions, and he confirmed, the experience. That still didn't do anything. I didn't need him to tell me what I saw was true, because I knew it was true, but it felt good to know that it's not that this wasn't just my own individual experience, that it felt that it fit into something bigger. But still, just as much suffering, just as many unskillful actions. I got kind of tired of that Zen group, because I got a little disenchanted. Like, why are these white people wearing robes and chanting in Japanese? That doesn't have anything to do with anything. So a friend told me about this famous Chinese Zen master, Chan master in Queens, who I mentioned earlier, Master Sheng Yen. So I started going and practicing with him, and that was much more sort of felt more on point, And as I mentioned, or maybe I didn't get into it, but he taught these different ways of practicing, and one was sound meditation, and for some reason I gravitated to that. And the way he taught sound meditation was you set up the mind just like a sound detector. He used that phrase, sound detector, and the job, just like this microphone, it is simply registering whatever sound is hitting it at any moment. It's not trying to figure the sound out. It's not trying to say, I like this sound, I don't like that sound. It's not hanging on to any sound, because if you really pay attention or bring your awareness to sound, you see it's every single moment it's changing, every single moment. And for some reason I gravitated to that, and I meditated on a daily basis, and my mind was could get very concentrated, but not in a one-pointed way, but in this very kind of receptive, alert, receptive way, which I think gave me a leg up, when I came into contact with this method, because I already kind of was setting up my mind in that fashion, in a sense. And I had been stopping in to see Tavi's group once in a while during this time, and then when he brought Achan Thong and Achan Niphen over in '92, I knew right away. Their message was, well, the message for many teachers is enlightenment is something, awakening is something for another life. Don't worry about it. And I could not worry about it, And when I heard their words, I knew, because their teaching was awakening is for everybody right now, in this life. Everybody can do it. Everybody can know it. And so I knew this is the path, for me. and I started practicing with them. And I remember my first interview with Ajahn Thong, and Tawi was actually the translator for that first interview. And I was at a retreat, obviously, at Shangyan. And I told Ajahn Thong about, I said, well, I've been practicing with sound, like noticing the sound that seems similar to what you're teaching. And he said, you should bring your awareness to the body and mind, to here, to the body and mind, because it's close, it's you. And I said, well, isn't the sound you also? And he said, yeah, but this is closer to home. And so I started to instead of setting up my mind as a sound detector, to set it up as a motion detector, to know every movement that the body makes, to detect the movements that the mind makes. And I think it's a useful metaphor that you might want to sort of experiment with, because a sound detector or a motion detector, it doesn't hang on to anything. It can't. It sees it and knows it. It has to immediately let it go because something new is happening the very next moment. So it's a very alert, open, receptive awareness, that we can arouse, And, it didn't take long, like in a couple of months, I could see thought. And then it didn't take long that things started to happen. And I didn't really understand them. So back in the day, those days, the teachers were only here during the rainy retreat season, so for 3 months or so. And the rest of the year we were on our own. We had a little group, but we were on our own until they came, for the rain retreat. And so we didn't have that much guidance in those early days, right? And I started very shortly. I started to have these experiences. Like I remember one day, my wife walked up to me, and they talk about the taste disappears or whatever. It's she just was an object, and I don't mean that in a negative way. And I knew, of course, it was my wife, but it was a very different. My mind was very different, and when it encountered her in that moment, the visual image of my wife in that moment. And I didn't know what it was, at that time. I was like, what's going on here? And another time, I was practicing outside in the tree. I saw that the tree was arising in my own mind. And I didn't understand that either. And, looking back, I can understand that these were sort of manifestations of Rupanama or Padamat. But at the time, I didn't have anybody to really talk to. So I couldn't really kind of get my arms around it. I couldn't really kind of solidify those stages of Rupanama or Paramat. And but I kept practicing. I could easily see thought. And then probably 4 years after I started, I was on a business trip, and I was in this, this dank motel in Mississippi, and I had some time before my meeting. So I sat on the floor, doing the hand movements and watching my mind. And my mind went into the final stage, the end stage of arising extinction. And it was, similar to what I saw when I was 17. But now, I had context. Now I could digest it to a certain extent. I wasn't just kind of blown away. And so I went but still, even though I saw that, I still had anger, still had delusion. Greed, and I there was no monk around at that time. It was not the rainy retreat, so I sent a letter to Achan Thong, who I was mostly working with at that time, who was back in Thailand, because I don't think they had email at Wat Sanam at that point. So I sent him an old-fashioned letter, and told him what had happened, and he sent a letter back. Eventually, I got like a month or two later, said, "Don't worry about it; it's an illusion." And I sent him a letter back saying, "No, it wasn't." Mm-hmm. And then so Ashan Da's turn was next, and Ashan Da came, and the next retreat, and Ashan Da said, "Oh, Ashan Tong wants me to talk to you," and I told him, and Ashan Da said, most people start at the beginning and work their way up, but sometimes you start at the top and work your way down. And so, there's a reason I'm telling you this, and I hope it's helpful, but because that, I had gone out of order. I didn't mean to go out of order, it just happened that way. And because I didn't have all these kind of stages as a foundation, even though, I had no doubt about what my experience, I had no doubt, and a lot of my suffering kind of dropped away anyway. But still, even though I had seen this deeper insight, it wasn't that helpful yet, because I still had greed, I still had anger, so I was still caught up. My head was still on fire. And actually, one of the reasons I hesitate in sharing this is, this all sounds kind of crazy for one reason, but also I don't want to create the impression that you have to have this special history to know the truth. And I've always worried that it would be confusing to lay out this chaotic kind of path that I've gone through. And it's actually, I think, a disadvantage to not go in order, because when you see something like that, that's so profound, the mind can attach to the memory of it. So it can be like a trap. And I got stuck for a while, for many years, because you see this unbelievable thing. It's just amazing beyond belief, and the mind kind of gets attached to the memory of that event. So over the time, I've been kind of trying to fill in the pieces, and then. I was at, last year, this retreat a year ago, I asked Shanda, how do you put an end to it? And, how do you cut the rope? And he said, Luangpor Teean says, you need to see Watu Paramat Samuti Akara. So Watu Paramat is the touchable object. And samuti is supposition, the label, and all the suppositions we attach to whatever we encounter at the sense doors. And akara is like the symptoms, that happen in the mind. And so at the end of the retreat, I went in to talk to Achan Da, Achan Niphen, and I told him this whole story that again I haven't told anybody really. Till then. And Achan Da, he picked up the meditation bell, and he's talked again about Watu Paramat Samuti Akara, and he did this. And then all of a sudden, all the dots connected in my mind. And I saw that, what's contacting the sense door is empty. It's just the object. There's nothing to it, And then, but the mind starts reacting. The mind puts supposition comes up, thought starts proliferating, and what causes us dukkha is not this, it's that. What we find attractive or repulsive is not the object itself. What we attach to is the mind's own ringing. And then my mind changed. And then things could no longer, these things just couldn't attach to my mind anymore. Before it felt like, you're letting things go. And now it felt like nothing could actually, things that would normally attach to me couldn't. They lost the ability to. It's like I felt like a bolt that had been stripped. It can't attach anymore. So things that normally I would get excited about, I could still be in their presence and work with them, and do anything I wanted, like Jim was saying. But they just weren't able to get the mind excited, and things that would make me angry just weren't. I could deal with them, but they weren't able to get the mind excited in an angry way either. What this whole path is shown to me is really the amazing thing that Luangpor Teean, sort of the gift he gave us, in the sense that in two ways. One is he showed us that, and other people, he wasn't the first one to understand that awareness, that receptive, attentive awareness is kind of the foundation to awakening. But he used a method that supported that in a very, kind of concrete way, versus like, if you sit down and you focus on the breath, it's easy to feel like you're still, and but in reality, nothing is still, right? Everything is, your body is moving, your mind is moving, and the way to see how the fire is, how it starts and how it extinguishes, is to witness the mind and the action of the moment. So this method of like don't get caught in the trap of just calmness. Cultivate this awareness, this direct awareness, this direct knowing of the body and mind in the present moment in a very alert and awake way. And this helps to wake you up. Keeping the eyes open, moving the body, wakes you up. There's nothing magic about this, these movements. They're just kind of a support, And he laid out these stages that are, my experience, and the reason I thought maybe it's helpful to share it is my experience shows the importance of, those stages as foundation. Just having some enlightenment experience randomly on its own does nothing for you, other than maybe telling you your head's on fire, which is not nothing, but you need it can't you can't stabilize it, I was unable to stabilize it until I was able to, my mind was able to connect all the dots with everything. And it's pretty, amazing. Now they say the difference between, a Buddha and an Arahant. An Arahant is a fully enlightened person. The difference between an Arahant and a Buddha is the Buddha discovered it on his own. An Arahant follows in the path of the Buddha. But it seems to me that Luangpor Teean is kind of in between a Buddha and an Arahant, because of course he's following the steps of the Buddha, but he also, without a teacher, was able to put this together. And I couldn't do it without these teachers. I couldn't do it without these teachers showing pointing me to see this, see that, see that. And it also shows the importance of a teacher and a sangha. So, Jim, I really respect. I mean, obviously he's done what had to be done in a way, but Jim has also been kind of a loner. I met him in 1998, and he didn't really participate in the sangha. And as the person was talking, he was kind of finding his own way. I can't help but wonder if he had been working with Achan on a more regular basis, maybe he could have awakened quicker. And if I hadn't heard that teaching in that moment from Achan, maybe I'd still be lost, not lost, but not where I want to be. So what we, I think, Tavi, started asking me to explain, you're starting the center and everything, and a couple of years ago, we were here in Achan Bunling. He told me something. He said, "Why do you do this? I don't understand why you do this." And I said, "I don't feel like I have a choice. I've never felt like I had a choice. From the moment I had that experience at 17, I felt like I had no choice but to try to find a way to put the fire out. When I started to see results from Luangpor Teean's practice in my own life, I felt like I had no choice but to help it take root in this country. And shortly after I had these experiences, our company was bought out, and I wound up with a bunch of money in my lap. And Achan Thong was saying, "We want to come and have a center here." So I felt like I had no choice but to help him start a center. So every step along the way, I just, it hasn't felt like a decision, just like I have to do what I have to do. And, it's something that has to be done, and nobody else is doing it. I hope other people will do it. Part of the message I'm trying to communicate is the value of having these teachers here. It's really hard to do it like Jim Taylor, taking cold showers and holding your breath and trying to find your own way. I mean, he did it, but it's hard to do it by yourself. And I don't know how much longer Achan will be around. He's 71, and we need to, capitalize on his presence here, and other people need to understand that their head's on fire, and wake up, because otherwise it'll just die out in this country. So it's kind of a plea, it's real. It's not a fairy tale. Waking up is not a fairy tale, and it's a matter, of life and death. And we have this kind of gift. The way Luangpor Teean laid out the stages and that help you stabilize your understanding is so valuable, Anyway, that's my bizarre story.
Thank you for taking that risk and sharing the story with us.
Yeah. Any questions?
you referenced this document, right, that clearly speaks to the different stages or progression. What is that? Where can it be found?
Pardon me?
So you mentioned this document, right, that speaks to the stages of the evolution of practice, the different experiences that can occur?
Yeah, so Luangpor Teean detailed it, and it's in Taoi's book, To One That Feels, and the biography also that he wrote, and so you should read it, But I found it helpful to have it fleshed out by a real teacher too, like Achan. Because the instructions that Luangpor Teean left, at least in writing through Tavi or others, is just see this, see that. But there's like a language barrier, a little bit of a language barrier. Tavi speaks excellent English, obviously, but still, it's good to have it. It's important to check what you're seeing with somebody who can help you. And I think people are reluctant, to do it. Like, even I was even reluctant for a while, and I wasn't, like those early stages where I was seeing things, I didn't really know how to articulate it, and didn't know if I should, just to let awareness do its job, which is true to a certain extent, but the way I've come to understand it is, we need sati sampajana together, and in virtually every sutta where the Buddha mentions sati or mindfulness, it's always in conjunction, almost always, with sampajana. And sati is mindfulness, sampajana is full awareness, clear awareness, or clear comprehension. So sati is the mindfulness that knows the object without any greed or aversion. And I had plenty of that, so I could see thought. I could see it, let it go, and I didn't have any trouble with that. Sampajana is aware of the larger kind of context of it, and so the words of a teacher who's been there before help kind of point your sampajana in the right way to because I already knew these things, but when he gave that teaching to me, it just clicked, because then I was able to see, this is how it fits together, and then it changed, So it's that's how I don't know if Tavi will agree with me. He's a Buddhist scholar, I'm not, but that it's the teaching, the finger is actually helping sampajana, understand what sati is touching.
Are those books listed somewhere on the Reading website? I think that's what you were asking, where to find them, right?
Yeah, they're on the website. You go to resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's on the Mahasati website too.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about in terms of, this retreat's been amazing, at least for me, like starting to lay the foundation, right? This is all brand new to me. I understand this is an annual, event. That aside, what other resources are there other than attending weekly at Reading? I've only been 3 times, right?
Yeah, what else do you need?
Oh, I don't know.
The point is that don't be shy about talking to the teacher, and I don't want them to be overwhelmed with speculative questions, but talking about what you're seeing in your own practice. And when you do the interviews tonight, really focus on that. What not Buddhism in general, but what's happening in your mind when you practice? Go ahead, Liam.
Okay. So I'm going to apologize for asking this question before I ask it. So I'm going to give you permission not to answer it if it would detract. Is there room, and I ask our Buddhist scholar as well, is there room here also for those of us who might be on the Bodhisattva path, that there are different paths that people take in the journey to awakening? And what about the Bodhisattva path? You said you were involved with the Chen people in China, and I just wonder if you've kind of seen the blend of the two. I mean, as Michael said, not everyone follows his path.
You're the Buddhist scholar.
And if you want me to define what I mean when I say that, I will.
Please.
So I mean someone who has dedicated their life to service for others and who sees that mission as, like, for me, that mission is kind of more important to me than my own awakening. And I don't know what that means. I just know that when a couple years ago when this journey started for me, somebody that I knew well said to me, and there's these people that say they won't awaken until every last being on earth is awakened. And I said, tell me where to sign the pledge. I'm going to sign it now. And I just knew that was for me. So I don't know, where there's room for that kind of journey.
Well, I mean, I'll just say my 2 cents, but Tavi give the official answer. But I think you can help people better when you're awake, when you don't have greed and aversion in your own mind. You can help other people better. What do you think?
The part of Bodhisattva is good, but it's good for society, for other people. And Luangpor Teean point out that in order to serve other people better, we should realize our own nature. And when we know ourselves better, we are in a better position to serve other people. And for Ananda, the close disciple of the Buddha, he has that bodhisattva mind. So wherever the Buddha go, he take notes. He just memorize whatever the Buddha said, and he organized people to meet the Buddha. So it's very helpful from his service that later on people just write down what he said in the Buddhist scriptures. But after the Buddha passed away, he's still not enlightened because he's too busy with other people. That is a very good intention, but he's too busy with other people until and he forgot himself. So and this is why Ananda get enlightened later than most of his friends who are close disciples to the Buddha. So Bodhisattva is good, but good for other people. But for Luangpor Teean, you should you should be a good swimmer before you help other people. If you are a bad swimmer and people get drawn and then you jump into it, then you may be in trouble as well.
I don't understand how awakening weakens your ability to help other people. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why you would not want to awaken.
I have a question, and it's a difficult one, and it's a good one. How do you marry, or how does being a psychologist helps this journey or not?
How does it help what?
Being a psychologist helps your journey, this journey or not?
Well, I mean, it kind of relates to what Leanne raised. So I was in business, and I was, I always wanted to do good, to help people, and even when I was in business, I tried to reconcile what I was doing with the fact by trying to create a positive environment for people to work and to feel good about themselves and support their families. But still, you're kind of chasing money, And then when it sold, but I was kind of trapped, because I had a wife and a daughter and I had a mortgage and I couldn't just go be a monk, And so I had to just stick it out, And then, like I say, the universe has just kind of unfolded in this way that the company got bought out. I got a bunch of money from the company being bought out, and I said, well, I don't want to go. I'm too young to do nothing. I don't think I want to be a monk. So let me do something that at least has some relationship to my practice and can help people. So I got my PhD and became a psychologist. But there's obviously some overlap, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't think being a psychologist helped me awaken. I think it helped me help people, which is what I wanted to do, was to help people. And I wasn't chasing something that was meaningless, like more money. Does that make sense? The truth is already there in everybody. Nibbana is called the unconditioned, because it's the only thing that doesn't depend on anything else. It already is there, already exists, always will exist. So it's already there in your own body and mind. So everybody, if they develop awareness, like Tavivat was saying earlier, if your awareness is, if you've really put the effort into developing your awareness, it's inevitable that at some point you're gonna see it, because it's there in everybody. It's always already there, always been there. And anybody can do that. This dispensation of Luangpor Teean is the marvelous thing about it is you can know it in a stable way. It's not just a lightning flash. You can know it in a stable way. So your heads are on fire. Get to work.